What if I told you that the most powerful deity in ancient Egypt wasn't a god, but a goddess? And what if I told you she gained that power not through strength or violence, but through cunning, magic, and absolute refusal to accept defeat? What if the ultimate symbol of divine motherhood was actually a master manipulator, a sorceress who tricked the sun god himself, and a woman who literally outsmarted death? Her name is Isis, and everything you think you know about her is probably wrong. Here's what they teach you. Isis is the gentle mother goddess, the devoted wife who resurrects her husband Osiris, the loving mother of Horus. She's usually depicted nursing her child, the perfect image of maternal devotion. Museums love her. She's safe. She's comforting. She's the ancient world's version of the Virgin Mary. But that's sanitized corporate mythology. The real Isis, she's dangerous. She's ruthless. She's a goddess who will literally poison the creator god to get what she wants. And once you see her for who she really is, you can't unsee it. Let me tell you a story they don't put on museum plaques. It's called The Secret Name of Ra, and it's one of the most subversive texts in Egyptian mythology. Ra, the sun god, the creator of everything, he's getting old, ancient. His jaw slacks, he drools, spittle falls from his mouth onto the earth, and Isis, watching him carefully, sees opportunity. She takes some of Ra's saliva, mixes it with earth, and creates a serpent, a magical snake that exists outside Ra's creation because it's made from his own essence. She places this serpent on the path where Ra walks every day, and when Ra passes by, the serpent strikes. It bites him. Ra screams in agony. The poison is like fire in his veins. He calls all the gods to help him, but nobody can. This serpent, this creature, doesn't exist in the natural order. It's a hack, a glitch in the cosmic code, and the pain is unbearable, even for the supreme god. Then Isis steps forward, sweet, helpful Isis. She says she can cure him, but there's a price. She needs to know his true name, his secret name, the name that contains his power, his essence, his authority over all creation. Ra refuses. He lists all his other names. Khepri in the morning, Ra at noon, Atum in the evening. He's the creator, the shaper, the lord of all. But these aren't his true name, and Isis knows it. The poison gets worse. Ra is dying. The sun is going dark. And finally, in desperation, Ra agrees. He tells Isis his secret name, and in that moment, power transfers. Isis becomes mistress of the gods, the one who knows Ra. She has access to the ultimate cheat code of reality. Now, think about what just happened. A goddess deliberately poisoned the creator god, let him suffer, manipulated him through pain, and extracted the source of cosmic power. This isn't gentle motherhood. This is a strategic coup executed with surgical precision. And here's the kicker. The Egyptians loved this story. They told it. They wrote it down. They celebrated Isis for her cleverness. Because in Egyptian thought, magic wasn't cheating. It was intelligence. It was seeing the hidden patterns of reality and manipulating them. Isis was the greatest magician precisely because she understood that knowledge is power, and the right knowledge can overthrow even the gods. But let's rewind. Where does Isis come from? The mythology says she's the daughter of Geb, the earth, and Nut, the sky. She's married to her brother, Osiris, and together they rule Egypt in a golden age of peace and prosperity. Everything's perfect until Set murders Osiris, and Isis's story really begins. When Osiris is killed, sealed in a coffin and thrown into the Nile, Isis doesn't collapse. She doesn't despair. She acts. She searches the entire world for her husband's body. She finds it in Byblos, retrieves it, and brings it back to Egypt. When Set discovers the body and tears it into 14 pieces, scattering it across Egypt, does Isis give up? No. She searches again. She finds every piece except one. Picture this. A goddess walking the length of Egypt, searching marshes and deserts, questioning everyone, following rumors and visions, refusing to accept that death is final. This is obsessive love, yes, but it's also stubborn resistance to cosmic law. Death should be permanent. Isis says no. And when she can't find Osiris's phallus eaten by a fish, she doesn't let that stop her either. She creates an artificial one from gold or wood, depending on the version. She uses magic to make it functional. Then she transforms herself into a bird, a kite, and hovers over Osiris's reassembled body, fanning life back into him with her wings. The texts are explicit about what happens next. Through magic, through will, through absolute refusal to accept reality's constraints, Isis resurrects Osiris long enough to conceive their son, Horus. She literally has sex with a corpse she's reanimated through sorcery to continue her bloodline and ensure her husband's legacy. That's not passive motherhood. That's necromancy in service of dynasty. That's making the impossible happen through sheer determination. And then Osiris descends to rule the underworld, and Isis is alone, pregnant, hunted by Set, who wants to kill Horus before he's even born. So Isis goes into hiding in the marshes of the Nile Delta. She gives birth in secret among the papyrus reeds, protected only by her magic and her will to survive. The stories of Isis protecting baby Horus are legendary. Scorpions attack, she commands them to retreat. Snakes threaten, she turns them to stone. Horus gets sick from poison, and Isis doesn't pray to other gods for help. She uses her own magic, her own power, her knowledge of the secret name of Ra to heal her son. There's a text called the Metternich Stela that records Isis's spell against poison. It's one of the most powerful magical texts in Egyptian literature. Isis doesn't beg the gods, she commands reality. I am Isis, who conceived a god in the womb. I am Isis, who made the air. I am Isis, who protected the child. She's not asking for help, she's declaring her authority. And here's where it gets really interesting. The Isis cult spread beyond Egypt like wildfire. By the time of the Roman Empire, Isis worship had reached every corner of the Mediterranean world. Temples to Isis existed in Rome, Athens, Pompeii, London, even as far as Afghanistan. She became one of the most popular deities in the ancient world, worshipped by people who'd never set foot in Egypt. Why? What made Isis so universally appealing? I'll tell you what I think. Isis represented something revolutionary. She was a goddess who didn't accept her fate. She didn't submit to cosmic order. She fought death, fought injustice, fought the murderer of her husband, and won. She wasn't passive, she was active, aggressive, strategic. And she was accessible. Unlike the distant sky gods or the terrifying underworld deities, Isis listened. The prayers to Isis are heartbreaking in their intimacy. People called her Mistress of 10,000 names. She was Isis of the sea for sailors, Isis of the harvest for farmers, Isis of magic for priests, Isis of healing for the sick. She was everything to everyone because she understood suffering. She'd experienced it herself. Compare this to other divine mothers. Demeter loses Persephone and grieves, causing winter. Hera is jealous and vengeful. Mary is pure but passive. But Isis? Isis loses everything and takes it back by force. She doesn't wait for rescue. She becomes the rescuer. Now look at the connection between Isis and early Christianity. Scholars have noted the striking similarities between images of Isis nursing Horus and Mary nursing Jesus. The iconography is almost identical. Both are divine mothers, both give birth to saviors, both are intermediaries between humans and the divine. Some researchers argue that the Isis cult directly influenced how early Christianity developed its theology of Mary. But here's the crucial difference. Isis has agency. She acts. Mary receives. Isis uses magic, cunning, sexuality, violence when necessary. Mary submits, accepts, obeys. The transition from Isis to Mary represents a fundamental shift in how cultures imagine feminine power, from active to passive, from sorceress to saint. And think about what we lost in that transition. We lost the model of a woman who refuses defeat. We lost the idea that motherhood and power aren't contradictory. We lost the goddess who proved that intelligence and magic can overcome brute force. But the Isis archetype didn't disappear. It went underground. You can trace her influence through medieval magic, through Renaissance hermetism, through modern witchcraft and feminist spirituality. She keeps resurfacing because the need never went away, the need for a divine feminine that doesn't just nurture, but fights, doesn't just protect, but conquers. Here's something you should research yourself. Look into the Isis erotologies, hymns where Isis speaks in the first person, declaring her powers and accomplishments. I am Isis. I divided the earth from the heaven. I showed the paths of the stars. I regulated the course of sun and moon. I made strong the right. I brought together woman and man. I appointed language for all peoples. These aren't humble prayers. These are declarations of cosmic authority. And compare those to the hymn to Inanna from Sumer, written 1,000 years earlier. I am Inanna, Lady of Heaven. Exalted. Or jump forward to the Gnostic thunder, perfect mind. I am the first and the last. I am the honored one and the scorned one. I am the whore and the holy one. The pattern repeats. The powerful feminine divine keeps asserting herself despite every attempt to suppress her. So what happened? Why did Isis worship end? Christianity happened. As the Roman Empire converted, Isis temples were destroyed or converted into churches. Her priestesses were persecuted. Her mysteries were declared demonic. By the 6th century CE, the Isis cult was effectively dead. But here's the thing about goddesses who outsmart death. They don't stay dead. Isis exists now in every woman who refuses to accept that loss is final, in every mother who will move heaven and earth to protect her child, in every person who uses intelligence instead of force, strategy instead of submission, magic instead of might. The secret name she stole from Ra? That's knowledge, that's education, that's understanding how systems work so you can manipulate them. That's every woman who's had to be twice as smart to get half as far. That's every person who's ever turned their oppressor's power against them. And the resurrection of Osiris? That's not just about bringing back the dead. It's about refusing to let death have the final word. It's about taking what's been destroyed and putting it back together, even if pieces are missing, even if you have to create new pieces yourself. It's about saying to the universe, no, this isn't over. I decide when it's over. So go read the texts yourself. Look at the pyramid texts, the Metternich stela, the erotologies. Study the iconography. See how Isis is depicted not just as a mother, but as a magician with her hands raised, commanding reality. And then ask yourself, what secret names do you need to learn? What impossible resurrections do you need to attempt? What death do you need to refuse to accept? Because Isis didn't become the most powerful goddess in Egypt by being nice. She became it by being unstoppable. And that power, that refusal to submit, that's not ancient history, that's the blueprint. The question is, are you brave enough to use it?